code in the database, remember. We had we had specified the data types of the columns. Some columns were not nullable, unicity, constraints, referential integrity. Now we can supplement those constraints. Those are not enough to express all the kinds of constraints that we want to express. But we can supplement those with, for example, check constraints. Now check constraints can do a check across different columns in a row. So for example, the example that I gave previously, where I said a security that acts as collateral needs to have a valid current rating. Those are all fields in the same row. Okay, so you can express that with a check constraint. Now, databases also allow you to specify triggers, and they come in different varieties. You have per statement triggers, and these triggers can be executed before the statement, or they can be executed after the statement. You also have triggers that can be executed, that are executed each time a row is updated, and it can be executed before the update, or it can be executed after the update. Now, the before one is an interesting one because in most RDBMS systems, it's possible to get the transaction to abort if the trigger returns a certain value. Null, for example. So what you can do is you can write a SQL statement that will return nothing if a constraint is not satisfied. And so this SQL statement can access basically the whole database. Okay, so this is pretty powerful. Yeah.
I have a question about this. I really don't agree with this setup because you're talking about code duplication, but now you're duplicating your business rules from who should be in your business layer to your database layer.
Okay, this is the classic comment that I would expect. No, I don't think so. I'm going to remove the code from the business layer.
You're removing it.
Okay, so my assertion is that you can capture just about all the constraints that you're going to need in this fashion. I'd say about 99% of the business rules enforcements you can capture in this way. Now, for the more exotic ones, there are always stored procedures. Okay. So now I want to come to the question of what should be done with the other validation rules. The other validation code that is still sitting in the business tier and in the web tier and in the browser. Should we just leave it there? Well, you pointed out that if we do, then we would create even more duplication. So that's not an option. We shouldn't just leave it there. You don't want to leave it there because you don't fulfill the DRY criteria. Do you know the acronym DRY? Don't repeat yourself. Okay, so we want to be dry. We want to be dry because that will drive our maintenance cost down. And as I said, a high maintenance cost will reflect on security. So should we just eliminate, as I glibly stated earlier? Well, not quite. There are some other concerns that may be addressed in the other tiers, and I'll go into detail about some of the concerns later on, but I immediately want to say probably there are things here that are out of scope of this talk, namely things like cross-site scripting and CSRF that you really do want to do in the business layer and in the web tier. But for now, I would say get rid of the code. If I'm just talking about data integrity, get rid of the code dealing with the protection against data corruption in the business tier and in the web tier. But the browser, that's other matter. What I've shown you so far gives you, I think, very good protection against a malicious user. What it doesn't give you is protection against the incompetent user. Well, I call it rather glibly incompetent user. But the fact is that the rationale for the web application is to make data entry more effective, more efficient. And so usability is a prime concern in the web application. So you should read the incompetent, well, I use the word incompetence as a shorthand for saying all those things that have to do with making it easier for the user to enter the intended data. In fact, John Stephen had another pair of words for the same two concepts in the previous talk, and that was he called what I call malice, he called evil, and what I call incompetence, he called dumb. It's the same thing. So my contention is that you should validate to protect against malicious users near the data, and I've shown you how I plan to do that, and to validate to enhance the user experience near the user. So basically we've sort of migrated the validation to the extremes. So there was complete validation here, and there was validation here and validation there too, but they were not complete. So I've shown you what I would do at the back end. What about the front end? What about the browser? The first mission of the browser is to the first mission of the browser code is to provide a great user experience. And in order to do that, you need to embrace JavaScript. So we had some JavaScript in there, but we need to push that much further. We need to do what I said earlier. We have to tie those different fields together by adding JavaScript onto submit button, for example. We also need to do some dynamic checks. For example, a security can only have a value that is compatible with the issuance program that it belongs to, and so that's data that needs to be got from the back end, and so you need AJAX calls as well.